Are you thinking about entering your first game jam? Wondering if you can actually make something worth expanding on? Here are 5 games that started in game jams that turned into commercial successes. The first game on our list comes to you from a French dev team originally founded by 3 women, and they represented women in gaming well with their release of A Normal Lost Phone. This game originally entered into the Global Game Jam in 2016. The premise is a simple but intriguing one. You find a phone on the street, and naturally, you invade the person's privacy and start to look through everything from pictures to text to internet history. The story unravels itself about a person named Sam, and you dive deeper and deeper into Sam's personal life. Without giving away too much, the storyline is a gripping one, and the investigative nature of it makes the game my personal favorite on the list. But how did it do commercially? Well, it sold over 200,000 copies across Steam, iOS, Android, and Nintendo, and has an estimated revenue of $100,000 on Steam alone according to GameStats.com. Not too shabby, and this success has given them the opportunity to expand into a full-fledged game studio and release a follow-up game called Another Lost Phone, Laura's Story. Now, described by the devs as a point-and-click story-rich game, our second game is Gods Will Be Watching, and it is filled with all kinds of puzzles and moral decisions for the player to ponder. Your choices will determine whether your team thrives or meets their maker. You are squarely in control of what happens in this pixelated world and its inhabitants, and just because it's pixels doesn't mean it's not a visually stunning game. They claim that over 1,500 individual sprites were created for this game, and based on how aesthetically pleasing the game looks, I fully believe them. Gods Will Be Watching was created by the Deconstruct team. The game was originally entered into the Ludum Dare 43 Game Jam, where it actually took second place behind a game called Mono, which I can't seem to find any commercial success for that game. No shade there, success is not always defined by money. But I wouldn't blame the Gods Will Be Watching devs if they felt accomplished with the strong reviews they received from both IGN and Destructoid, or due to the fact that they've amassed an estimated $400,000 in revenue according to GameStats.com. Now, the award for the most creative game on this list was never in doubt. It was always going to be the game that was designed for VR. With a title like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, you can already feel that the stakes are high before you even touch the game. Find out if you and your friends are more like MacGyver or more like MacGruber as you attempt to defuse time-ticking explosives. This is a game that is all about how well you communicate with your friends. Your team will have one bomb diffuser who unfortunately doesn't have the instructions on how to actually defuse. Your success is determined by your friend's ability to relay the instructions to you. If you fail, you can probably guess what happens. Did I mention it was developed for VR? Although you can play this game in standard mode, the VR component really adds to the tension in the room as the bomb diffuser is absorbed into the reality that doom is imminent if something isn't done quickly. The game was created by Steel Crate Games and was originally entered into the 2014 Global Game Jam. With overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, this game has an estimated $2.7 million of revenue according to GameStat.com. Our most recent Game Jam success story comes to us from the game dev team of Dan Mullins Games. They originally created a game called Sacrifices Must Be Made, which may not be the most creative title because it is the exact theme name for the Ludum Dare 43 Game Jam that they entered. Nevertheless, the game was a hit. When they went forward with finishing the game for a commercial release, they landed on a name called Inscription. It is tough to categorize the game, as it really does truly combine a few game genres. You begin by competing against an AI ghoul in a card game, but play your cards strategically because your adversaries have a few tricks up their sleeve. The core components of the gameplay stay relatively the same, but get more challenging as you go through the game. There is somewhat of an ominous undertone as you play the game too, so your decision-making skills will be put to the test as the hair on the back of your neck stands up. You'll even be asked to leave the card playing table and complete some unique puzzles between turns. This game is not inherently a horror game at its core, but definitely leaves you with a little bit of uneasiness at times, which is great if you are someone who craves that minor adrenaline boost. By the start of 2022, the developers reported that Inscription had sold more than 1 million copies, and GameStats.com estimates a revenue of $27 million. Now, how accurate is that estimate? I don't know. But what I do know is that it's been a massive victory for Daniel Mullen Games and the team. Even the actor for the main character in the game has since launched a successful Twitch channel, so this one just seems like a huge W all the way around. And that brings us to our fifth and probably most recognizable game on this list. If you've been a gamer for some time, you have most likely at least heard of this game called Goat Simulator. This game is brought to you by Coffee Stain Studios, and the key features listed on Steam page for this game both begin and end with, well, you get to play as a goat. No real goats were harmed in the making of this video. This game is so simple in concept and is best utilized by gamers with a creative side and those who like the variability of physics simulators, like Gmod for example. The mods in the game create never-ending fun with infinite jump, cannon simulator, and giant goat, just to name a few. This game has some unimaginable success. On GameSpy, the game is estimated to have sold 2 to 5 million copies on Steam alone, and according to VG Insights, has estimated gross revenue of $28.2 million across all platforms. That comes out to a pretty nice chunk of change and crowns it as the most profitable game on this list. Or, at least it would, if this game was actually ever entered into a game jam. Despite the universal belief that this project was part of a game jam, the game devs actually set the record straight and said it was never participated in a single game jam. They used the term to describe the developmental period they used for the game, as it mimicked that of a game jam. So while technically not eligible for this list, it is a game that started from very similar beginnings, and hey, we'd still love you, Goat Simulator. That pretty much wraps up the video for today. Hopefully it's given you that inspiration to enter that next game jam on your radar, or start that indie game you've always wanted to make. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things indie games, and check out one of my most recent game previews for an indie game that is absolutely thriving on Steam right now. Alright, thanks everyone. This has been an inside look on 5 highly achieving game jam projects.